ramps out there are in atrocious shape. There's potholes all over the place. It's rough on boat trailers. There's not enough parking. You get out there on a big weekend, you have trailers backed up on both sides of the road for half, 3/4 of a mile, maybe further. And delaying this issue on this bond issue will just add another year to 18 months to that, to hopefully getting some of that stuff funded. Putting it on a large bond issue, as I've heard has been proposed, I don't feel is a good idea, because in this day and age, people are not prone to vote for big bond issues. You can look at Pan American down here. They had one bond issue thrown out. Their excuse was the public doesn't understand, we didn't educate them right. Most of the time, the public does understand, and they realize that it's overfunded. And you may be throwing out the baby with the bathwater if this happens here. We're speaking about revenues from Isla Blanca. Well, if you want each park to stand on its own, then let's do that, because I think Adolfo Tome Park could stand on its own on the revenues that it generates. Because I live out there. I see those boats and I see those boat trailers up and down the road all the time. During the winter Texans pretty much have it full from at least 1st of November through about March. Spring break rolls around, big weekends rolls around, every place out there is full. But I don't think that's what anybody intends. This is a county park system. And therefore, I think we should be talking about county parks as a whole, not just one park here or just one park there. This is something that has been discussed, talked about at length, and was passed under the previous administration. Through a technicality, things didn't happen because an ad didn't get put in the newspaper. Not everything the previous administration did was bad. A lot of things I didn't agree with, but there were some good things that came out of it. And I think this is one of the good things, and I don't think it should be just thrown down the drain. Start smacking a little bit of politics. I didn't like it then. I won't like it now. That ends everything I've got to say this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good morning, County Judge and Commissioners. My name is Juan Manuel Perez. I'm from Santa Rosa. And I'm also here in concern regards to the certificate obligations to the parks. I come from Santa Rosa. We are far away from the size and the halls of the courts of Cameron County. And I hope that you take in consideration in approving these obligations of certificates. I think and I believe that every park in the city of Cameron County should be given the opportunity to the students, to the kids of the county could be able to enjoy those parks just like in Santa Rosa that we have been enjoying our park, but there's a lot of improvement that's to be done in Santa Rosa. And we ask you, County Judge, and the Commissioner not to forget that we are part of the county, and many times it had been forgotten that we were part of the county. They would consider that we were part of Willacy. We are not part of Willacy. We are in Cameron County, and we invite each and one of you, Commissioners and the Judge, to continue coming to Santa Rosa and to see what Santa Rosa got entails, and especially when our baseball and football season is going on, that we do have those kids out there enjoying the park, and like I said, we need improvement. And it's, of course, I believe it's the obligation of this court to be able to continue supporting those parks from the South Padre all the way to Santa Rosa and Cameron, and every park that exists here in Cameron County, because we only have one thing to do, that's to give our kids the opportunity to stay away from drugs and anything that entails them to go in the wrong direction, because in Santa Rosa, we do believe that we need to keep our kids safe, free of drugs, and I just ask you that this commissioner come in consideration and pull together and say, let's do it for the sake of every kid here in Cameron County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Well, if there's no objection from the court, let's go to item 30. Consideration and possible action regarding Cameron County, Texas Certificate of Obligation, Series 2007. And I have Mr. Paul Martin come up. But before he comes up, let me respectfully disagree with the gentleman from Arroyo City. This is not a political issue. I did not create this problem. That's why it's back here today. What I chose to was, as soon as we found out that there was a glitch in the COs being issued, immediately we put on the first available meeting to formally let the court know what had happened and see what direction the court, not me, not any member of the commission, but the court wanted to take. So if it would have been a political issue type thing, we would have deferred this and just kind of pretend like it didn't happen. But it did happen, and it was my role to bring it to the court as soon as possible once we did find out that it happened, which we found out last week. So, and I'm sure there'll be some discussion. I will air my concerns regards to the COs. It's nothing against the parks. I think parks are great. I think they're great for families. And I will reserve those comments till Mr. Martin kind of explains what happened and how it happened, and then we can move forward with that. It's fine. Well, it's a new dawn, all right? So, but I appreciate your comments, though. Thank you. Mr. Martin?
Thank you very much. My name is Paul Martin. I'm an attorney with Winstead, Sechrist, and Minnick out of San Antonio. I've had the great pleasure to represent the county for many years as bond counsel. The certificates of obligation were scheduled to close on January 25. One of the procedures that we have to follow to get the certificates closed is to get the Attorney General to approve. The Attorney General looks into all the legal aspects of the issuance of debt. And in particular, certificates of obligation are subject to a publication requirement. And it's not published, the notice is not published just once, but twice. And in this case, the county failed to publish the second notice. And so therefore, the Attorney General declined to approve the certificates because the statutory requirement of 2 publications was not met. So therefore, on January 25, we did not close the earlier issuance of certificates. The court has several alternatives or ways to go about this. First is to start over again and renotice and republish and resell the certificates. We could get that done. I have made a schedule here to sell on February 20th and deliver on or before March 15. You could make this a part of a bond election to be held only on one of 2 election days, either May or November. So that's an alternative way to go about it. I think those are really the choices. I'd be happy to answer questions.
So you're referring to it would just be the reapproval by this court of the original plan?
Generally,
that's one
that's correct.
and the other.
We'd have to resell the certificates because the
Exactly.
market, of course, would have moved.
But the paperwork is already done?
Yes, it's a very,
If approved as was voted on previously,
yes. But the
which did not
exception-
happen. The only reason is that someone dropped the ball and didn't
Right.
get it printed the second time.
Yeah, the only
That's just for
difference
matters of clarification.
would be the difference in the interest rate, perhaps. May work for us as opposed to against us. No telling how the market goes, but that would be the difference.
Thank you. Any other questions from Mr. Martin?
Are you saying that if we were to choose to go forward with what we've done in the past and sell on February 20th, we would be looking at a February 20 interest date?
Yes.
Commissioner Benavides, any comments? Just a few. First of all, the bond issues do pass. And I think that that was demonstrated in the last flurry of school board bond issues that passed. And, you know, it's our obligation to inform the public about bond issues. So, I mean, yeah, they do fail at times as well, but they also pass. The Isla Blanca Park issue, I had a meeting on Friday, I believe, where we talked about the challenges that Isla Blanca Park has. And what was conveyed to me from our Parks Director, and Pete, correct me if my number is off a little bit, was that they needed at least $350,000 worth of improvements just in the bathroom facilities alone, coupled with more lighting, coupled with working on the streets. So at this point, I don't know what it would all cost. This is not about putting parks against each other. I mean, we all know that Isla Blanca Park is the goose that lays those golden eggs, and my concern is just making sure that goose continues to lay those golden eggs by making sure that we take care of the park that generates the monies. The other issue is that of issuing bonds without voter approval. Certificates of obligations have been an easy mechanism for governmental entities to issue additional debt without seeking public approval, which is something that fundamentally I don't concur with. So really, those are the issues. I think that what the court did back in November, December was a worthy endeavor. I wish that they would have considered doing something a little bit different in terms of bond elections. Last week, for those of y'all that did not know, we were informed that our jail system was going to need a significant amount of additional monies, either to fix the jail that we have, build an additional wing, construct another facility where we currently have a warehouse. And of course, although the numbers were somewhat varied, it was anywhere from 30 million to 43 million. One of the agenda items that's on today is to get the court's permission to begin developing a capital improvement plan for all of Cameron County, not just Arroyo City or Brownsville or Harlingen, whatever. It's a county. We have a lot of needs. We're talking about spending another $2 million on the Harrison Street building to renovate the 3rd and 4th floors. So if we start an inventory of what we need, you're going to find that it is significant. $8 million, albeit in the global scheme of things, may not be a whole lot of money. But is it $8 million that we need, or is it $12 million that we need? I just want to be able to comfortably vote for as best as we can with long-range plans, you know, to develop our park system. The park system is a good entity. There's no doubt, there's no argument from me or anybody else that parks are a valuable part of the quality of life in every community. But I, as one, have not seen, now maybe the court has, but I have not seen a projection of what the maintenance and operation costs are going to be for these new additions to these parks. I don't know at this point what any interlocal agreements that are between the Cameron County and the municipalities or the school districts. We need to work in a unified effort to make sure that we are partners and participants, as Commissioner Tamayo has long advocated, with other communities within this county. So for anyone to suggest that I do not support parks, well, that's some misinformation that's out there. I do support the park system as a whole, and I believe that we need to participate in that. But at the same time, I also believe that we need to take care of the entity or the park that generates the lion's share of the monies. My concern as well, if we let the park deteriorate, where we don't make the added improvements, will people stop coming? I don't know. I don't have the answer for that. So it's not about that. It's not a political deal. You know, this is something that took place before I came into office, and the small technicality of failure to publish also happened before this new administration came in. So it wasn't my deal. My deal now is try to work out something where I feel comfortable. I'd like to ask Mr. Javier Mendez at some point soon, to come up with a maintenance and operations budget. I don't know if he's provided that to you all. I haven't seen it. John? Is there
Well,
one?
Judge, if I may.
Please.
In the original package, and that's how I refer to it, there's $854,000 that will go to the improvements of Isla Blanca Park. So in that package, it's included. $854,000 would be for Isla Blanca Park. And the reason, and I agree with you, Judge, on several things, but sometimes I don't agree with you on how to get from A to B. I agree with you when it comes to the fact that we need a good planning countywide, and I'm for the capital improvement and put it to the voters. But this package, and I'm going to make a motion in a few minutes, this package needs to go forward. These people have been waiting forever, and I think that it's time that we deliver. It was voted on in November. Let's go ahead and move forward with this. If even then, we're not going to be seeing the money till March 15th, am I correct?
That's correct.
And if we don't do this, then it'll be even longer for them. I agree with you that we need a plan, a capital improvement plan. I'm for that. But at this time, I'm going to make a motion for the reapproval of issuance of the certificates of obligation as previously approved for improvements to Isla Blanca Park, Andy Bowie Park, E.K. Edward Park, Adolph Tomei Jr. Park, Santa Maria Park, Brownie Road Park, Cameron Park, Los Indios Park, Rio Hondo Park, La Paloma Park, Santa Rosa Boys and Girls Club, Highway 48 Boat Ramp, and El Ranchito Park. And I believe that was included in that package. Total being $7,796,138.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Tamayo. I'm sorry, Mr.
But the
Martin?
certificate would be in the amount of $8 million to cover issuance costs and.
Okay, well, I was going on the totals that we had for
Yeah,
this, so
Commissioner.
whatever it takes, let's get it
Commissioner, I wanted
done.
to be sure, and maybe I was looking through here to get my list of parks. Did you include Laureles Park in there?
Laureles, I have it written down, and I didn't say it, did I?
I'm
Yeah,
not
we
sure
have
whether
Laureles. Yeah, that borders precinct 4, we sure want it.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Tamayo. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion?
We were talking about voting on bond issues. If you want to vote on each bond issue that comes before the court, then probably you need to look at something like they do out in Arizona. Once you can figure out everything you want to do through the year, one each year, once each year, they go through, they list each one of those issues on their own merits, present them to the public, and they're voted on like that. Personally, I like to say that. Because unlike you, I think a lot of stuff we turn down.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I think a lot of this stuff we turn down. The school bond elections are a lot different than the county infrastructure elections. Because the first thing out of people's mouths is to the kids. And everybody's going to go have to vote for the kids. When it comes back to dollars going out to buy a new pickup truck or something, people are going to look at that pretty hard. And salaries, people are going to look at those kind of things pretty hard. And that's one of my issues. The other thing, this basically was a done. When you personally agree with me, I think you should respect what was done previous to you getting here January 1st. And this would have been a done deal. That, as usual, you know, when somebody had their head up, that didn't get done. But basically, this was a done deal, and I think it should be.
Well, I'm not going to vote against it, if it means anything to anybody, but,
Judge, I want to make sure that I did not leave any area. Javier, did Javier Mendez? I certainly don't want to leave anything out from that original package. I think, and I had written it down and I didn't read it. Did I include everything,
Yes, ma'am.
all items?
right.
Okay.
Okay, further discussion. I still think that my vision is to do exactly that, to come up with an inventory of what this county needs and put it out to the voters. I think during the campaign, that's one of the things that I would hear about the county passing bond issues without any voter input. It's our role as commissioners to convey the message to people and convince them that these bond issues are good ideas. If we fail in doing that, then the bonds will not pass. And normally, bonds do not pass if they don't trust the administration or the leadership that's there at the time. But anyway, having said all that, I had a
Well,
motion in a second.
Yeah, Judge, excuse me. I'm not making this motion because I don't think it would pass. I'm making this motion because I want us to move as fast as possible, like immediately. I wanted to clarify that.
And I would still like to see, Javier, I still want to see projections as to how we're going to pay for the M&O. And just so there's no misunderstanding, as we develop this capital improvement plan, Mr. Sepulveda, as we develop this, we also need to have projections as to how we're going to pay for the additional M&O that we may incur with the additions of the facilities, improvements, jailers, whatever we have to do. So it's not just a park thing. This is a bigger issue, because we need to know how we're going to start preparing for all this in the future. So we had a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Oh, yes, ma'am. Can you please come forward, because the
I'm sorry, good morning. Barbara Midkiff with Friends of Isla Blanca Park. We were late arriving, I'm sorry. We sort of missed our turnoff up there. I have two questions. Initially, that $8 million was going to be paid for entirely by the park, with no improvements being included in the park. That was our understanding. My husband and I have been staying there the last month, and that park is in terrible shape. The Boy Scout area, we didn't know until last week that it was even still being used by the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. We thought it was an abandoned section of the park. The buildings are falling down. There are fixtures in there in the bathrooms with nothing attached to them. They're just pipes sticking out of the wall. I wouldn't walk in there barefoot on a bet. All the tent pads are falling apart. The boards are dangerous. They're breaking. They're rotted. They need to be replaced. The whole Boy Scout camping area just looks like a junkyard, and it needs to be fixed. We need to have that park repaired before you can expect people to go in there and pay this 15% increase. They're going to quit going there. And then where's the money going to come from to pay this $8 million loan? It won't be there. The recreation hall, the clubhouse, the bingo parlor, I couldn't believe the amount of activities. This is February alone. Daily activities where they use that clubhouse. The kitchen in there is a joke, and they serve meals out of that kitchen. The Boy Scouts, when they're there, they go in there and cook in that kitchen. You wouldn't want to cook in it, I can tell you. Have any of you ever been there? You should go out and tour that park and look at it the way it is now. And there's a smell in there. It comes from the sewer plant, I suppose. It looks to me like maybe the venting out of that sewer plant needs some work. That needs to be addressed. It smells horrible in there, all along that one side of the park. So that was my only question. Are those repairs going to be done in the campground before you start spending all the money?
Javier, can you answer the question regarding the $864,000 that Commissioner Tamayo mentioned in terms of what that's going to be spent on?
Yes, sir. What we have on the list, Judge and public, we have the repairs of the pavilion, additional parking, road repairs. We have here, and I met with Pete earlier, and we're thinking about removing some of these things because we don't want to finance them for 20 years, like the computers.
Removing what now?
The computers. We had computers in here, upgrading the computer system for our reservations. We have picnic tables, electrical boxes. We're going to replace some of the electrical boxes that we have for the RVs. And we also were going to put a separate independent postal box where, because what happens is our staff has to pick up mail, separate it for each individual RV site. This way, the postal service will actually come out there and put them in the individual boxes, and then the people can go pick them up at one of these little kiosk areas. And then the community center upgrades.
How much money is allocated for the renovations or the replacement of the bathrooms?
Well, that's what we need to include. We didn't include in this list was the restaurant, but when we talked Friday, we had estimated a little bit over $300,000 for all the restroom repairs, replacing all the urinals, everything that's porcelain, removing it and putting stainless steel.
Okay, but that's not part of the initial $8 million issue, right?
No, sir. But I think that, Judge, if we revisit this list, I think we can come up with the additional $300,000 by removing some of the areas from the rest of the list, moving them around and making up that money.
Okay, well,
Set priorities, in other words, from their comments.
Yes, and we did have a meeting, excuse me, probably 6-8 months ago, out there with the guests of the park to find out what their needs were. That's how we compiled, most of this list, and most of it was road repairs, electrical boxes, and the restrooms. Most of it was the showers and stuff like that. And what they were more concerned about is having the general public use the restrooms that are inside the RV area. They weren't concerned about the conditions of them, but they were just concerned about intermingling.
the usage.
Right.
Is there anything on that list in terms of additional lighting for the park?
No, sir. What we do, those lights belong to AEP, and what we do is we report those lights that are out to them, and then what they'll do is they'll come up and repair them. Now, it takes a while for them to repair them. They last maybe about a month or so, and then they go back out. We've gotten a lot of complaints about the lighting.
Right at this point, I have to say the lighting is excellent. The lighting has been fixed, and it's very, very good. We have a handout that we're going to pass out probably tomorrow and ask for, and I'll give you a copy.
Okay.
We made a list of things that we have seen. Some of them high in the sky, some of them realistic. And what we are asking the people to do is prioritize this list and add anything that they see that we don't. One thing that we did not see because it's not affecting us is the palm trees. The way they shed, they need to be cleaned off.
Yeah.
They land on those rubber roofs and they slice those rubber roofs. They're sharp. They're very sharp. And so then the RVs begin to leak. So these trees need to be trimmed, and there needs to be a scheduled maintenance program. So I've asked for them to return these sheets to us by the 10th of February. At that time, we'll have it compiled, give it to Javier, and he'll have a possibly different picture of the things that they feel is comfortable, because it will now be in writing.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
Javier,
So then when the initial list was created for this 864, it didn't even include the bathrooms. So now you're going to have to go back and include the bathrooms at $300,000, which is almost half of the amount that was originally budgeted to improve the park. So you're going to have to determine what you're going to cut out that you thought was a necessity. Now you're going to have to go back and cut it out in order to accommodate the bathroom. Is that correct?
Correct.
Just so I understand. Okay.
Yes. And Judge, also, just to make a comment about where we can make up the money is we're expecting to hear back from the state, from General Land Office on the CIAP money, which may cover some of these improvements. For example, over at Dov Tomé. The other thing that we had, and I believe it's on the agenda today, is a resolution for one of the grants that we want to submit for Laureles, which would cut back as part of the total amount that we budgeted for that. But I can, we can revisit the list and make sure we're under the $8 million, and we make sure we include the restrooms in the.
Okay. But I still like to see a as close as you can get to accurate, a projection as to what you believe the additional maintenance and operation costs are going to be as we add these community parks to it, because we start budgeting for that in the next year or so. Well, maybe not so much this year, but the following year. Okay?
Okay.
Any further discussion?
I just have one other question. Why is this $8 million not up for a public vote?
Well, I think I can't answer, I wasn't here, but I think the consensus of the court appears to be that they want to move forward because it's been long in coming and all this other stuff, so.
Maybe I can also help address that in some manner. Having served for a while, and I know all of us have up here, Sophie's the newest one, but you know, we all feel like that the public should have their input, and the issue that y'all are going through right now as far as prioritizing some of the things that you see that are needed at Isla Blanca Park is real important, and it should help us when we start doing the work. The other issue has to do with quality of life issues that oftentimes are not considered by the larger group of folks who vote on things. And sometimes we don't always have the opportunity to do quality of life issues because we're real busy taking care of jails and taking care of roads and taking care of the basic things that the county is responsible for. But I believe most of us up here, all of us up here, feel that there is a need for the county to be looking at what the youth in the county, what experiences they're exposed to. Certainly putting in parks provides them with a better atmosphere, a better place to grow up, something to do, keeps them out of trouble, helps down the road with jail problems and things like this. What I've found over the years is sometimes there's a window that's available to do quality of life issues, and if you miss that opportunity, it may be years and years before you get the opportunity again. And I realize that Isla Blanca Park is the goose that lays the golden egg, and it produces the golden egg pretty regularly. However, it is part of the entire county's park system. And because it does generate the funds, it's kind of like the bridge. The bridges that the county owns generates lots of funds. It goes into lots of other areas of the county because it's part of the county. So we up here try to stretch the dollars wherever they come from, grants, state government, federal government, bridges, parks, to accommodate the needs that we feel like are important to everyone in the county. We're talking about putting parks in areas of the county where the people there, some of them have they don't even have the means to go to the beach, to enjoy the beach because of the economic conditions that they live in. So, I'm looking at this like there's a window there right now to be able to do this, and the window has been created by the increase in the fees at Isla Blanca Park and the other parks, and we all understand that. But that window also is provided because the fees that we charge, even the increased fees, are still competitive with, I believe, anyone else that might have a park on the island itself, because the island is totally unique from any other place in the county. The island, for example, if you take the ad valorem value of property on the island, 17% of the tax valuation for the entire county sits on the island. And, we rely on that also for everything else. But as a whole, as the county in general operates, we're looking at funding from whatever sources we can to make these things happen. And I think working with Javier and working with Mr. Sepulveda and working with the rest of us, that we can make things better. We can make them better at Isla Blanca Park. We can make them better throughout the county where these other parks are planned to be. I know in my case, I guess the only real improvement that the Precinct 2 is getting out of it is an improvement at Cameron Park, at at the Centro Cultural Center. And we're going to add a few things there. In Precinct 1, of course, the Isla Blanca Park falls in Precinct 1, but the southmost area of Precinct 1 has a relatively new park that also needs some additional things and some expansion which had been planned on it. So, we're not looking at it myopically, I don't think, but I believe we're looking at it as the whole. However, I think we all do understand where the funding is coming from, and we do understand that that area where the funding is coming from does need to be maintained and taken care of properly. The folks who use it need to be part of the system of maintaining and taking care of it and telling us what they really want. I think your idea of passing this thing out to the people that are there now is ideal. I think that's wonderful. And we're going to do everything we can to accommodate those needs.
I agree with everything you're saying. And the people there, just for your information, are not complaining about that 15% increase. They have, the ones who are staying there now have no problem with it. What they want to see is some of it going into the park. My problem with the park paying for everything is, just supposing this year we have a bad hurricane season and they evacuate those people out there. I know we would probably not go back because we would have to go somewhere to park. So we would go inland to another park and just stay there and probably not go back for a while. So we would lose that revenue. And then who's going to pay for that? The county taxpayers. It's going to fall back on the public. And that's why we still felt as though they should have something to say, because it's conceivable it's going to come out of their pocket. That's my only comment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any
Excuse me,
further discussion?
Judge, I wanted to ask Javier something. As far as the smell that's coming from there, do we own that sewage plant that is probably releasing that stench?
Yes, ma'am. The sewer plant belongs to the water district, the Laguna Madre Water District. They purchased that property from us.
They did. So have we ever addressed them as far as the smell? And I know it's a problem not only over there. If you go to the federal courthouse here, if you walk out on any given day, they have the lift station right there, and the smell is horrible. We have the same thing over on East Avenue. But maybe we can contact them and see what, if anything, can be done.
We'll do that.
One more time. Any further discussion? No? All right. We had a motion by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Please note my abstention on item 30. All right. If y'all would like to leave, y'all can. Thank you very much. Before we keep going. Consent items. Is-
Judge, before...
I'm sorry.
Mr. Rojas didn't sign up. Gracias. Thank you, Mr. Rojas. He has diligently worked on the advisory committee for this park, and he's out there working with kids on his own as a volunteer. Mil gracias.
Thank you. Consent items. Is there any item that any member of the court would like to take out and discuss separately? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent items 2 through 18?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wood.
Second.
Do I have a second by Commissioner Tamayo? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Travel items. Any questions in regards to travel? If not, do I hear a motion to approve item 19A through 19M?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Wood to go into executive session to discuss, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel on issues with the construction at the Harlingen Annex Building pursuant to VTCA Government Code Section 551.0711A and 551.0712. Item B, deliberation regarding real property concerning acquisition of Parcel 1 for right-of-way of the West Rail Project pursuant to VTCA Government Code Section 551.072. Item C, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning management and purchase issues with the International Bridge System on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with this chapter pursuant to VTCA Government Code Section 551.0712. Lastly, item D, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning construction issues with the Father O'Brien Clinic in Port Isabel pursuant to VTCA Government Code Section 551.0711A and 551.0712. We are in executive session. Thank you all. Yes, ma'am. Sorry. Yeah, we come back and discuss that. Y'all want to take that out of order?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take that out of order so y'all can scoot out. Do I hear a motion to come back into regular session?
So
Moved by
moved.
Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Wood. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. To discuss item 9, consideration and appointment of members to the Cameron County Historical Commission for a 2-year term, 2007 to 2008. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you and good morning. I'm Mary Lee Rumbo, Chair of the County Historical Commission, and the Cameron County Historical Commission, in accordance with Texas Historical Commission guidelines, is submitting these names to the Cameron County Commissioners Court for appointment for the 2007-2008 term. And those names are listed on the first page of the letter submitted to you. Judge Coscos and Commissioners, during the December 2006 meeting of the Cameron County Historical Commission held in Brownsville, the following individuals were nominated and voted in as new members of the commission for that 2-year term. This is Mr. Mark Clark of Brownsville, John Dove of Rio Honda, Jose Gavito from Brownsville, Priscilla Rodriguez, Brownsville, Peter Goodman, Brownsville, Sharon Newell, Harlingen, and Julie Oliveira from Brownsville. You'll notice a preponderance of Brownsville because due to, I believe the term is attrition, but age and illness and such as this, we desperately need some people from Brownsville. Also, Sharon Newell, located in Harlingen, has been doing work with Rio Honda, and she and Pete and Olga Castillo have been doing a bit of work. The breakdown of the 32 members would be the 7 we've listed, plus the following ones that have re-upped for their term. The breakdown of towns would be 8 from Brownsville, 3 from San Benito, 11 from Harlingen, 4 from La Feria, 3 Rio Honda, and 3 from Port Isabel. The one thing that would take, and you do not have, but this is a draft of selected portions from the Texas Local Government Code, and that sounds terrible, but the idea is all the discussion that you have had this morning over where the budget should go and how the projects could go forward, there are listed in Section 1, Chapter 318 and Appendix 1, the state plan for preservation, and that is our primary interest as a group. There are 5 state goals, and in our final report next week or at the next hearing, we are responding with what we're hoping to do to encourage and work toward those goals. The first one is leadership and team building. Develop and sustain exceptional leadership qualities in both public and private preservation organizations, and this is throughout the county. The second goal is vision and planning, and this is exactly what you're dealing with this morning and what you've said. Advocate a preservation vision at all levels, just what you have said. 3, education and awareness. Create a community awareness, appreciation, and effective utilization of historic preservation. 4, selecting activities, especially linked to specific goals for Cameron County. Resource identification, preservation, and interpretation. And this includes from the very identification of the wreck that has newly been established as an archaeological find on Boca Chica Beach, all the way back up to the state level. Work with the heritage trails. And last of all, goal 5, resource development. Develop and secure physical and human resources to accomplish preservation in Texas, especially Cameron County. And we take this oath and we give it to you. It shall be the duty of each and every member of the Cameron County Historical Commission to assume specific responsibility for using their individual time and resources most efficiently to achieve tangible progress toward these preservation goals in Texas. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rumbo.
Thank you.
Just real quick, any comments? Question? I have a real quick question. How involved are you or were you all with the Santa Maria Church? I know that there was something going on with that. Did you all get involved in trying to?
We have been involved for over 20 years with that church and with various and sundry groups. We have a new officer coming in who will be Larry Loff of Brownsville, and they are in meetings with the church and with, I believe, some people down there.
Very, very involved in the restoration or trying to get some monies from the diocese and things, and that just apparent not going anywhere. So whatever y'all can do to assist in that, that's a beautiful little church, and we just need to do what we can to fix it up.
I think that you'll find that Larry Loff has some excellent suggestions there, and a rapid get something on the roof before it all falls down.
Could you have Larry call Commissioner Tamayo, if you don't mind, Commissioner Tamayo? Could you have Larry call Commissioner Tamayo and
Certainly.
have her sit down with her, because she's been very active in that restoration
Yes, most
project?
certainly.
Could you do that?
Most certainly.
All right, thank you, Ms. Rumbo.
And that way I can compare notes with him to see if it's the same contact person from the diocese that he's working with.
Thank you so much. Do I hear a motion to approve the list as submitted?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wood. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Do I hear a motion to go into executive
moved.
session?
moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Tamayo. We are in executive, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are in executive session. Out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Benavides, seconded by Commissioner Wood. All in favor to come out, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item A, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel on issues with the construction of the Harlingen Annex. Do I hear a motion to acknowledge report of counsel and our architects?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Wood. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Please note that we did not discuss items B or C. Do I hear a motion to table those two items? Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, seconded by Commissioner Wood. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item D, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning construction issues with the Father O'Brien Clinic in Port Isabel. Do I hear a motion to authorize the expending of $5,000 to $7,000 for the repairs to be made, and have Mr. Sepulveda get with our budget officer and/or county auditor to determine source of funds?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo. Do I hear a second by Commissioner Benavides?
Can we
All in-
also add the issue of contacting the architect to design the system?
Okay, let's go back and include in your motion, Commissioner Tamayo, authority for our legal counsel to contact the architect who designed the, that building, whatever it is. That
Acknowledged.
part of your motion?
Yes.
Also, your second, Commissioner Benavides?
Yes.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 22, budget amendments, line item transfers and/or salary schedules.
Judge and Commissioners, there's only one, and it's just a transfers between line items for the TV program income and the salary schedules associated with that particular grant.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner
Second.
Benavides, seconded by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 23, approval of the January 9th, 2007 regular meeting. Has the court had the honor to review the minutes?
Judge, I've had problems with the computer. I did not get them, so.
Okay, would you like to table this for another week?
Yes, please.
Move to table by Commissioner Tamayo. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wood. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 24, approval of county claims.
There's a list before you on the additional claims recommended or requested for inclusion in the posted claims. They begin with check number 174916, border health issues, and conclude with check number 174928, county administration building fund. We
Let me ask-
request that these be added.
And I apologize for not going through this. Do you recall if there's a check here for the city of Brownsville for the revenues that are due them from the bridge system? understand
I
they
don't have that
haven't received
recollection, but I'll check with my
anything. They're still pending
assistant.
November and December payments they haven't received.
I'll check with her on whether she
You
has
might check and see if
issued that.
Arlington is
I
having
didn't
to
see that
receive
on
theirs.
there.
I don't believe it's in quite yet.
Do you all pay quarterly or monthly?
We usually play monthly, but in the first part of the year, it's a little difficult to catch up with the audit of last year, make sure we conclude everything we should pay Brownsville. And then also, I believe that if we overpay based on budget versus actual revenues, we may recoup overpayments in the first few months.
Well, and I realize we try to pay monthly, but
Right.
it seems like it's a perpetual situation where from time to time, they get 2 or 3 or 4 months behind, and I assume the cities of Harlingen and San Benito also end up like that.
Right.
You need to look at it. Thank you.
All right, Mark, hold on. Just one question. On page 77, warrant number 174829 to the Sheraton Fiesta South Padre Island, just explain what the conference rooms for isolation is of $17,000.
These are out of funds 23 and 24. I believe these are health department grants, is that correct? Could you explain this?
That was for our isolation quarantine conference that we put on December the 13th through the 15th. It was part of our grant requirement.
Thank you for that. Please note my abstention on warrant number 00174640 to Harlingen Waterworks in the amount of $191.99, I think. That's it. Any other abstentions?
Thank you.
Move for approval.
Second.
I move for approval on claims by Commissioner Tamayo, seconded by Commissioner Wood. Commissioner Tamayo, I think I did see some to Red River. Do you need to abstain on those?
I didn't see it.
I think I did. Well, if there is an amount for Red River,
I
just
will
note,
certainly abstain.
just
I
note Commissioner
didn't see it.
Tamayo's abstention on that.
I went through every one of them.
Yeah, okay, it's on page 66, warrant number 174783, in the amount of $137.13. Please note Commissioner Tamayo's abstention on that. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Consideration and action regarding the county's legislative agenda for the 80th Texas Legislative Session. Pete?
Judge and Commissioners, David and I will be in Austin this afternoon and tomorrow, visiting with our delegation and the staffers and working on our legislative agenda. We've got meetings this afternoon and then all of tomorrow morning, so we'll be up there.
There was a meeting Friday, this past Friday, of several of the different entities in the Brownsville area, including the port, the college, the city, the BEDC, the Chamber of Commerce, Workforce Development. David and I attended it Friday to talk about what everyone else has on their agenda. And obviously, the idea is that we all understand what everyone else is going through and what their needs are. And there will end up being a Brownsville agenda that specifically highlights somewhere between 5 and 10 different items. However, we are talking to each other to where whenever anyone is in Austin and working with the legislature, working with different issues, if something comes up that one of the other entities is supporting, then we need to be knowledgeable of it and carrying that forth with whatever we can do to assist the other entities, as long as there's no real conflicts. And from everything that I saw, and I think everything David saw, we all pretty well, are riding on each other's coattails on all the different issues, unfunded mandates, the issues that we have, the county has, those other entities are supportive of, and we're supporting theirs. It's a good cooperative communication system and working together.
And this group of folks does plan to have a Brownsville Day in Austin, I think February the 7th.
Actually, the 7th is a meeting set up, which will be separate from Brownsville Day. It will probably be at a later time. The 7th and 8th, they're really going up to address a lot of the educational issues that the legislature is going to be addressing this year. But if we have the opportunity to be there on the 7th and 8th and attend some of those meetings with our elected officials and other elected officials throughout the state, it would certainly be beneficial to the entities in our area. And also when they do schedule an actual Brownsville Day up there.
Thank you. Anything else on item 25, Pete?
No, sir.
All right. Do I hear a motion to approve?
With my abstention.
No, this is on the, you're abstaining on, not on the legislative session, right?
No.
Okay. Yeah, we're done with that.
That was on the...
All right. Do I hear a motion by Commissioner Benavides to approve the county's legislative agenda for the 80th Texas legislative session? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wood. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 26, consideration, possible action regarding the county's federal legislative session.
On Saturday, I attended a press conference with Senator Cornyn in Mission, where he announced that today he was going to introduce a bill that would allow the individuals with border crossing cards to be able to cross and have parity with the Canadian border. If you all recall, a couple of years ago, individuals with the border crossing cards, their time limit was 72 hours. And then Senator Cornyn, through legislation, increased that from 72 hours to 30 days, which is what is existing right now. On Saturday, he made an announcement that today he would introduce a bill that would bring parity to those individuals with the border crossing cards, the laser visas, to the Canadian border, which means that if the legislation is passed, they would have 6 months, just like they do on the Canadian border. So he requested a resolution from the county. We'll be drafting up that resolution and placing it on a future agenda for one of our meetings.
That's certainly an issue that I know we've supported in the past and need to continue to support his efforts in it. As an example, I mentioned earlier that about 17% of our taxable value is on South Padre Island, and about 50% of that is owned by Mexican nationals who really need to be able to have the opportunity to come up here and stay more than a 30-day period if that's what their desires are.
Pete, on the couple of things. One on the, I know we're trying to schedule a trip to Washington at some point. You might want to touch base with the county judge in Hidalgo County, maybe even Star, in regards to a veterans hospital in South Texas, maybe even Willacy, if they want to go up together as a delegation to just try to get the federal folks to approve, or at least start looking at a hospital on a regional basis for the four-county area instead of us trying to do it on our own. So we can do that. Also, on the improvements of the levee system, the same thing. In speaking to Hidalgo County, maybe we can go up for those two issues specifically. Also talk to the county judge in Starr County, and then if he wants to call the counterparts that are further northwest to address the levee system, okay?
David, your assistant, we had already started that process. If you will recall, we met in Hidalgo County and talked about the regional approach, and we were going to move forward with that. And I thought that was still I thought that process was still in place.
Yes, Commissioner, we're meeting with different, at that particular meeting, the IBWC was down with some committee staff from Washington to answer some questions and to start a study that they were going to, an investigation that they were going to be looking into that will hopefully put together some legislation on the amount of money that's needed for the levy system. And at that time, there was individuals from the different communities, so yes, we'll definitely...
But it was my understanding that there was going to be follow-up in order to get the process in place.
I think because of the change in administrations in both Hidalgo and in Cameron County, there needs to be some coordination since we, us two counties are the largest counties.
Well, I fully support that, Judge, and I hope that takes place.
Yeah, we both have passed resolutions in support of that project, Hidalgo County and Cameron County.
We also, along those same lines, we need to be sure that we're communicating with the other counties in the valley as far as the BINCOM program, the Border Interoperable Mobile Data System, because that, I think we've decided, is really a valley-wide issue, and getting them on board will certainly assist all of us, including their counties and their constituency and their law enforcement agencies, in being able to have a better system to communicate and manage their law enforcement facilities. And we'd like to see them continue to be on board with that.
Most of these projects that are on your list are going to require a community effort and, different people from the different areas where that project pertains to be in the meetings with us, when we do visit Washington or Austin. So we'll definitely make sure that we coordinate with the different communities up and down Cameron and Hidalgo and Willacy, and even Nueces County to some extent, to make sure that we're together on these projects.
And I think also the mayors of the various cities, need to be brought into the loop.
Let me ask you just a follow-up question on that. After that initial meeting on the levy system, as we do these meetings, are we copying or sending information to the people that did not go, such as the local mayors and the city commissioners and stuff? I mean, as part of our packet to them, do we do anything like that? If we don't, then I think we should, just to give them an update of what we're doing. And I think you just put on your list, every as a courtesy, every city in Cameron County, and I would even do it to Hidalgo County as well, just so they know that we're trying to work together. The same thing with Willacy.
At that particular meeting, we did not, because we didn't host the meeting, but we did share that information with other folks via email, so we'll continue to do that.
Okay. Aside from the email, though, can you do it hard copy as well? Because some people don't look at their email sometimes. Okay, thank you. Item 27, consideration, do I hear a motion to approve the federal?
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, seconded by Commissioner Wood. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 27, consideration and possible approval of the 2006-2007 road and bridge equipment list.
Javier, are you recommending
Do you have
all of
anything?
these?
Yes, after revisions by the Mr. Sepulveda and his staff, this is the list that has been narrowed down to the essential equipment that they're requiring. Some of this equipment will be utilized in some of the various, Colonia projects, and will be able to be charged off to those projects. I don't know exactly what that is, the total dollar amount that is. If they were not charged to anything, the total of this list financed the heavier equipment over 5 years is going to require additional funding within the road and bridge system to pay the debt on this equipment. And that the highest amount, if none of it was, it's an additional almost $100,000. And I just need to make you aware of that. It should be less than that because some of this equipment is going to be charged off to some of these projects, but that's like the heavier equipment and not necessarily the computers and things that are on this list.
Javier, do you happen to know how current we are to billing TxDOT on the projects that we've been doing in-house for the Colonia project?
No, I'd have to defer to Mr. Sepulveda on that.
We're, through the end of December, we have billed, and we're pending December.
Pending December's
Right.
bill. Have we sent those bills out yet? Or have those bills gone out to TxDOT?
December, I'm not sure if they have or not, but I do know that through November we have.
Is Mr. Yates here? Mr. Yates, do you know if we've billed TxDOT for December's work? Would you please? Obviously, we need to get the money in as soon as we can. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll check with, because engineering is the one that does that for the colonias. So I'll check with them.
Thank you.
And as you have them divided here, South Area 1, South Area 2, we still have the process where this equipment is shared, Pete, when needed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. With schedules being set up.
That's correct. Yeah, we, try to get the foremen to work with each other, ahead of time if they're going to need equipment that the other areas have, then they get together and agree on a date and time, and that allows for schedules not to be interrupted in the other areas.
Do I hear a motion to approve the 2006-2007 Road and Bridge Equipment List? Moved by Commissioner Tamayo. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 28, consideration and possible action regarding salary changes from Fund 100-4030, Slot 05, $23,170, Slot 08, $18,069, Slot 09, $20,412, Slot 11, $20,964, Slot 12, $19,467.
Judge and Commissioners, our request is very simple. It's within budget. It doesn't increase, it does not increase line item number 3. So that means that at the start of the year, we start at the same level.
Joe, on the other one, the way the agenda, was there a slot that's missing on that? Because I noticed that, okay, never mind. I think it's, I started the wrong way.
What
Gotcha.
it is, Judge, we're having an employee that's leaving, that's been here quite some time, and we want to promote from within, and at the same time promote some other ones that need a pay increase. And
so you're just changing the slot, the amount of the slot. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner
Second.
Wood, second by Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you,
All in
Judge and
favor?
Commissioners.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 29, consideration possible action on the utilization of lapsed salaries in all of the county departments. This was an item that Commissioner Gatz had placed on. Commissioner Gatz is at a funeral today, won't be able to attend. Just some quick discussion. Mark, one of the questions that Commissioner Gatz had asked, do you budget an amount for lapsed salaries annually?
Well, that'd be a question for your budget officer. We had engaged in that practice years ago, but as of the last 3 years, we have not plugged in lapsed salaries. I know that when General Abbott came into office, one of his first opinions is Greg Abbott, number 37, talks about Commissioners Court approving a personnel budget for certain elected official departments, and then Commissioners Court going back and retrieving salaries or adjusting salaries. And so based on that particular caution that the general had put together in his opinion, we no longer plug in lapsed salaries as a revenue or an expenditure item. Is that correct?
No, we don't. It was done, I think, for 2 years, and since then, it hasn't been done.
Okay, well then, do I hear a motion to table this item so Commissioner
So
Gatsa can
moved.
participate?
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Wood. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any approved?
Judge,
Any opposed? Item carries. Yes, sir.
one of the things that some of the elected officials, department heads wanted to find out what you were going to do with lapsed salaries, Some of the times our departments are at budget time are not budgeted enough money to buy equipment and improvements in our operation. And what we'd like to do and ask you to consider to leave those lap salaries in each department so that we can be good managers and do the things that we need to do in our operations.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I think, Joe, you may want to attend maybe the next time we have the meeting, because we will be speaking about the use of lap salaries, okay? And I think that's a good point. Just for the court to consider, that departments, sometimes we ask them to cut their budgets and do this, and at the same time, they can probably need to be rewarded if they do come in under budget in some of their items, and maybe they can utilize those monies. And Mark, I don't know if we can do that, or Javier, where you roll over part of that, so maybe they can start using that for some of the stuff that they may need in future fiscal years.
That will really help us to be good managers and to get the things that we need in our
Well, it's an
department.
incentive as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Okay. Item 31, consideration possible action on a capital improvement program. Pete?
Judge and Commissioners, I placed this item on the agenda after the discussion the court had during the workshop last Tuesday regarding the jail improvement issues. And so I guess staff needs some direction from the court as to we want to pursue in establishing a capital improvements program. It is quite a bit of work that goes into putting a capital improvement program. Obviously, it requires sitting down with all the department heads throughout the county, trying to identify the different needs that we have, and then setting a priority at a staff level on the different needs that the county has, and then in turn bringing it over to Commissioners Court so the court can look at priorities set by staff, then go through different workshops and possibly, some public involvement effort in order for the court to get to a final, priority level on all the projects. So if that is something that the court, wants to pursue, we just need some direction so that we can start the process. It is, really don't have a time frame because I'm not, I'm sure that the needs that the county has are vast, but, so I'd be willing to say 6-9 months to be able to put it together. Depends, if we all cooperate, at a staff level, we might be able to get that list and prioritize it a lot sooner. If we do, well, then that just means that we cut off the time. But I do, want to go, and I do think that it requires a lot of thought from the staff level to be able to not only come up with a list, but set some sort of priority. We're going to have to look at what our needs are today, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And knowing that it's a big effort, not only on my part, but on the staff's part, I just want to make sure that that's where the court wants to go. And if it is, then, I can start instructing staff accordingly.
Pete, let me, if you want, let's open up for discussion and we can start. John, we can start.
I think you obviously know my feeling on a capital improvements program. I've been talking about one for about 4 years, that we need to do that. And obviously, it's not just the department heads and the people who fall underneath the county commissioner, but all of the other elected officials, their departments and everything else. I'm really surprised that we haven't in the past been called on the carpet by bond rating agencies for not having a capital improvements program, because we definitely need one. We need to know where we're going, certainly for the next 5 years, and then long range out to 10 years. It is a document that is going to be quite comprehensive. I think you're right, 6 to 9 months is going to be a minimum trying to get it put together. It's a document that is a living document that will change from time to time as things change, which they, inevitably things do change and priorities change. So it's something we need to continually look at, but we need to get started in getting it put together so we know where we're going to be going. The judge has talked about, how do we know how much money we need to do what we need to do? Well, first we've got to figure out what we need to do before we start figuring out how much money we need in order to accomplish what it is we really need to do, and how we prioritize those things are extremely important. So as far as I'm concerned, we're way behind the 8 ball on getting something like this started, and I'd sure like to see it go forward as soon as we can. And I realize it's going to take a lot of staff time, a lot of effort, energy, and it may take someone to put on a special project to start getting this thing together. But we do need to get it put together.
Commissioner Benavides?
I agree, Pete. You have my support, and the court has my support as far as this project is concerned.
Commissioner Tamayo?
Definitely, we need this, and I think that we have been improving the county in so many ways, and this is definitely needed. The county is growing, and I think that we're being awfully optimistic when you think you might do it in 9 months. If we do this right, and this is just my opinion, if we do it right with all the input from not just the directors, but all the elected officials, and I, for one, have over 100 advisory committee members, and I'm certainly going to have this on the agenda when I meet with them, and I think that's important because they're the ones in the trenches. They're the ones out there in the community. And definitely, there's a lot of need, and we need to move forward with it. But, Pete, I trust, I know you have tremendous skills in doing this type of thing, but please don't shortcut, don't try and say, well, this is a timeline, we've got to do it right. This is a golden opportunity to bring our county up to what I envision that it can be, and I feel very optimistic that we can do it.
At some point, and probably in the very near future, I'd come to the court so that we can create or establish a capital improvements committee, so that we can get a representation, from the different areas, in plan of action on what needs to happen, from starting with step number 1 and leading to the implementation of the capital improvement program. We'll also probably tomorrow visit with TAC officials in Austin and see what support services they have. We might be able to tap into some other resources. So I'll put some thinking into it and touch base, with some department head elected officials, and then come back to the court and report on a plan of action.
And I think we all need to realize that what you're initially going to come up with is a huge wish list.
Exactly.
And a wish list isn't necessarily a necessities list, but I know I've seen these happen before where the city of Brownsville initially came up with a $500 million wish list, and obviously that has to be looked at as to what's really priority and what is actually needed, and not that the wish list is a bad thing. We've got to start somewhere, but we need to know what people are wanting, and so it's going to start out that way, and it's going to be huge. Then it's up to everyone to really look at it hard. And
they're good planning tools, especially during the budget process, because if we can establish also along with that a road inventory plan and say these are the needs throughout the county, and this is more or less what we want to budget, and these are the streets that we have in our priority and we're going to target, and every budget year we're going to make sure that at least we fund a minimum amount so that we can continue with that road inventory program. And I guarantee you, 1, 2, 3 years down the line, you're going to see substantial improvement. Not that we already don't see that, but I think, if we have it in an orderly manner and we grow in an orderly manner, I think that's ultimately what we want to do.
I think you're right. In the last few years, we have seen some substantial improvement in the roads and the system that we have. We've still got a long way to go, but we can't, and this will help us set up to not let these roads that we've built drop through the cracks and not maintain them. If we get a system set up to where we're actually doing, in addition to rebuilding what we have now that needs rebuilt, constructing what we don't have constructed, but also maintaining what we've got, and we'll find that will save us tremendous amounts of money in the long run. And it's a better system of handling our assets, maintaining them, taking care of them.
And also, the one thing, Pete, and I know that you're trying, your staff is trying real hard to keep up with the additional roads that come into our system. And I think this is a good time for you to compare, how many county roads, how many miles of county roads does each precinct have, and the needs that are there. And I want to praise our judge, Cascos, when I had a conversation with him, that a lot of times maybe there's only 7 homes, 10 homes on a road, but it still means that a bus needs to go through those roads and families need to get in and out. I have a case where a lady called and thanked us after this rains. Our guys were out there in the rain taking care of a problem, and this was an elderly lady that needed to get her husband to the hospital. And there's not a lot of homes on that road, but that's a life that could have ended if she could not have gotten the ambulance there to get him. So there's a lot of needs that are pretty desperate. And I think going back to what John said, as you go through this process, Pete, and I know you don't need my advice, but I'll just give you this recommendation. Make sure that these people don't have the mentality that they're going to ask for twice as much so they can get what they want. Let them know that there's going to be intelligent analysis going on, and it's that they better give us what they really need and not up the, like you said, not a wish list that's to the moon, because we're going to have to set priorities.
Just real quick, let me summarize as I perceive this capital improvement plan. First of all, it's not going to be used for salaries. It's not to be intended to be used for maintenance and operations, everyday expenses. What I'd like to see you do, Pete, is maybe come up with 2 or 3 major headings, and one of them is going to be county buildings. If we know we're running out of space, Commissioner Benavides and I had a brief conversation last week regarding some issues regarding the Harrison Street building and the parking lot across the street. And quite frankly, we had similar ideas in terms of what we need to do over there. So you break that out into, I will tell you that in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to be asked to create some additional courtrooms. Either we're going to have another district judge created, another county court of law created. So we need to look at that. So I'm looking at maybe think of yourself as what you did with the flow chart, with the organizational chart. We're going to do one section that has buildings, and then from there you're going to come on down and determine what buildings we're going to need in different areas. Number 2, then the next little block I would assume would be infrastructure. And then with that infrastructure, we're going to have to address drainage. We're going to have to address the paving of our streets, the maintaining of our roads. And that's right, we are obtaining additional roads every year, but we're also losing some through annexation. So we have to keep in mind that as we get annexed, that those roads now fall under the responsibility of the city that's doing the annexing. And then the lighting in the colonias. I don't believe that we're going to be able to do the lighting unless we have some capital improvement plan to do that. And then coupled with that, as part of this organizational chart that you're doing, and I think I agree with Commissioner Tamayo, it's going to take longer than 6 to 9 months. And and again, the rush is so much. I'm not concerned with getting it done real quickly. I'm concerned with getting it done right and accurately. And if it takes you a year, 14 months, that's fine. But at least maybe give us a progress report every 6 months or 3 months. At the same time, the lighting in the colonias, as we develop these programs for the lighting of the colonias, I don't want to get stuck into a situation that happened with the trash, where we had some billing issues. So the lighting in the colonias are a great idea. The easiest thing is putting up the posts and creating the lights and things. It's just a matter of finding the funding. The challenge is going to be in how we can develop a billing system that's going to be fair to everybody. It's going to be fair to the residents, and something that either us or somebody else can monitor. And I think Commissioner Wood is right on target. This is going to be a fluid document. It's going to be much like the organizational chart. It's a working document, and it'll change periodically. So as you visit throughout, and I would even venture to take it a step further and maybe even get with the city managers and just see what they perceive county government can assist them with. But that's what I'd like to see happen. And again, I don't expect anything from you for the next 4 or 6 months, but maybe periodically give us a little progress report on where we are. Within that capital improvements fund, what I talked about was road and bridge and general fund issues. I think that we need, as we mentioned a few minutes, I guess about an hour or so ago, in regard to the park system, I'd like to see a park plan, a capital improvements plan for the park that also takes us 5 to 10 years down the road as well. So get with Javier or whomever. Lastly, our county is somewhat behind in terms of technology. And for those of you all that are experiencing down emails, things of that nature, I don't know if our computer equipment that we have is really what we need at this stage. That's something that I'd like for you to evaluate, see where we are with it, and then come up with a recommendation as to how we can improve all that technology. and just take it from there. So those are my thoughts, and I'm sure they'll change as we go along, but I want to thank you for taking the initiative and getting this on the agenda.
And I think the updating every 6 months would be excellent.
Yeah, well, I'll see if maybe we can do it quarterly. That way at least we discuss it every 3 months and give a good progress report.
Just so we know that it's not on the back burner, it's just
Right,
something that we
exactly.
thought about, let's forget about it. Commissioner Wood said he's been trying to do this for a number of years, and let's follow up with it and just stay on course, okay? Do I have a motion to approve?
To start the process.
To start the process by Mr. Sepulveda, moved by Commissioner Tamayo, seconded by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 32, consideration approval of upgrading salaries of secretaries in precincts 3 and 4. As you all recall, we spoke about this last week. My office is willing to help out in this situation. I don't know if I can help out much longer, but as long as I can, we will do that. Do I hear a motion to approve the
So moved.
upgrading of the salaries of the secretarial positions in precincts 3 and 4? Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Wood. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, seconded by
Second.
Commissioner Wood to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. God save this honorable court.